and I welcome all of you. We really appreciate you coming down. These in-person events mean so much to us, and I know, with the rain and traffic, that was probably more of a challenge tonight. So we really appreciate everyone joining in person. I want to share kind of the genesis of SX Live. This has been near and dear to our hearts in terms of really driving a transformation in the industry, and part of that are these in-person events. But we started last year, right? We're still coming out of the pandemic, and we wanted to do a big in-person conference because the mission and focus of our company is about helping to transform the role of support. And we're really focused on helping companies build a modern proactive support experience. And so we were going to do a big in-person event, and with the pandemic, we said, that's not going to work. We ended up doing a virtual event last April. We had over 1,700 people engaged from around the world, a lot of interest. I know a few of you were there, and we're doing it again this year in June. And it's going to be 3 days of great content around, first, the notion, it's the why, how support experience is changing the face of support and success in the rest of the organization, as I'll get to in a second. But then it's also the how, and it's getting down to the brass tactics of how to transform support and success. And it's appropriate for senior leadership, support managers, support engineers, and customer success managers. So I encourage everyone here, please go ahead and register for the event in June. Invite your teams. The team dynamic there is so important. And lastly, if you want to be a speaker, we are accepting speaker nominations. You all have amazing stories and great experiences to share and tell. And we're also hosting our first Support Experience Awards this year. So look at the categories, and if you feel that your team or individuals on your team are worthy of that, please feel free to nominate. The reason why there is such a movement behind support experience and why we started SX Live is that support experience benefits the entire company. Many of you are in support roles. A few here are in customer success roles. So you know this, you've lived and breathed this, presumably for quite some time. And support is no longer a post-sale event. It's no longer a cost center. Our finance, brethren and sisters aren't here, so maybe it realistically is. But we're trying to change that. And we're trying to bring support and success into the forefront and be less about something you do to fix a problem and more about bringing insight and value to the organization and cutting across success, sales, product, engineering, finance, everyone in a role who has a direct or indirect way of supporting a customer. And Support Logic, that is our mission, is to help companies deliver that amazing support experience and unlock the value of the rich signals that are buried in support interactions today, and bringing that to the rest of the company, for example, product and engineering, to help drive improved customer experiences upstream. And we're going to get more into that in our panel in just a second here. And again, we are a software vendor, and we are in business. We would love to talk with you if what we're talking about here resonates and you have challenges and see the opportunities ahead. We would love to have a consultative conversation with you. And so with that, I would like to bring up my esteemed panelists. So we'll go in order here. So we're going to start with Marlene Summers, the VP of Technical Support at Salesforce. Welcome, Marlene. Why don't you sit here? You can And then I'm going to ask Carlos Gutierrez. He's the AVP of Customer Success Operations at BMC. Slide one over. And then I'm going to ask Jason McWhirter, the VP of Global Support at Forth. You can go actually right over there. And then last but certainly not least, Jenna Kuntz, the Interim VP of Global Technical Support at FinancialForce. And we have a couple of our panelists are Support Logic customers, and a couple we're working pretty in depth with. He said it, not me. We're very proud of this, and you will hear anecdotes about Support Logic, but we are here really to talk about the topics of the day. And you want to grab this? So we're going to start off with quick introductions. Maybe we'll start down with Marlene and tell us about your role, maybe the sort of dynamics of your team, what you're focused on, and a fun fact. Let's break the ice.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming out. I have been with Salesforce coming up on 4 years now. I run a collection of different teams operating in support of our products. I came via a acquisition, and so the longest tenured team that I've had is called Industry Cloud. It's our fastest growing cloud in the Salesforce portfolio. We have vertical solutions on top of the platform. I also run our support organization for our voice channel, so that spans across all of the products. And one of my passion areas is for inclusive products and software, and so I've recently took over running our global accessibility support team. So super fun, cool fact there. Great to be here and chatting with everybody.
Thank you, Marlene. Carlos?
Hello, everyone. Carlos Gutierrez, AVP Customer Success Operations at BMC Software. Great to see everyone here today. I run the team of support operations, customer success operations, and customer experience operations at BMC Software. I've been there for about a little bit, actually over a year. Before that, I spent 20 years at Dell Technologies here in Round Rock, local. Fun fact about me, I came to UT many years ago and I never left. So I'm a long-time Austinite, so great to see everybody here.
I would imagine there are a lot of UT fans here. Yep.
Me?
Jason.
All right. I got you beat. I've been here for my entire life. I was here before the 360 bridge even existed. So I'm native. There's not many of us. And with that, I'll turn it over.
Welcome, Jason.
So Jenna Kuntz, I am the interim VP of Global Support for FinancialForce, and super excited to be here today. And part of our organization consists of a variety of teams as well. You have everything from support analysts straight up through technical success and TAMs, TCSMs, a whole lot of teams, onboarding. I'm sure I'm forgetting a few, but super excited to be here and talk with you all today.
Welcome, Jack. And I introduced myself, Joe Andrews, Support Logic, but my fun fact is I'm through and through a marketing person, but one of my early roles in my career was in support operations. So I was a business analyst for a large tech company, and I'll tell you more war stories about that over drinks later. But welcome, everyone. So I want to start out, we're in a tough state of the economy, especially with technology companies. And there are challenges there, especially in organizations, right, where there's cost pressure. And so I want to hear just from the panel, what do you see as the big challenges facing your org today, and where do you see the opportunities to innovate? Carlos, do you want to start?
Sure. So, I think support is, as I think you touched on before, being seen as a cost center is naturally going to cause pressure. But one of the things that we've realized at BMC, and I think it's a factor of support being a part of the customer success organization, is that support at its core is a risk mitigation engine, which right now is really important to everyone, as every vendor is evaluating whether your company is going to continue to do business with you. You need to be in front of that. So that's how we're approaching it at BMC. Is support is not just a risk mitigation engine, but it also provides valuable insights that I know we're going to spend quite a lot of time talking about it. There we go. Okay. We're going to spend quite a lot of time talking about it, but it's also providing valuable insights to the broader customer success organization. Especially around things that do impact that top line number, like adoption, right?
Great, thanks, Carlos. Marlene?
Yeah, sure. So I think just a couple points. My early career was in engineering, so I kind of fell into early days of customer success and support by accident, joining a startup where I met Joe years back. And so kind of from that, when I first started working with support professionals, I was a little confused by this idea of being a cost center and that support should be looked down upon. But I kind of, in reflection and seeing the industry that preceded, how that had maybe perception had come into place. But definitely I do think that it's important to lead with examples and remind people with that, which is one of the first things you do, kind of in support when you have smaller teams, is work on career pathing. There are people that want to stay in support jobs forever, but there's also so many different functions that we now offer that there are lots of places that people can go to continue to accelerate their career. Particularly on the economic side, when we looked at what was going on, one of the strengths that we had in our support delivery was building out, and Salesforce, I think, has been known to have a really strong data insight kind of program that we've built on the past 24 years. We had a really fine-tuned, world-class capacity model for support delivery, and we had been actually continuing to iterate that as we got into the pandemic. And so kind of through that, we continued to build. And now in these challenging times, while there has been restructuring, we have been able to continue keeping that capacity and even adding to it. And that is a kind of a struggle for some other functions. So in some ways being a cog, but having that strong model is advantageous in these types of times. And so definitely whichever team you're running on there, and there's lots of different ways, but we have that, and we have executive buy-in on this model, and we have really strong leadership, and that's really helped us navigate through, because this is what we need, and the business sees it, and then we move on.
Transformation story, Jenna?
I've been in support a long time, so the idea of the cost center has been prevalent for a very long time, unfortunately. But I think it's about showing the value, and then also a really strong alignment with customer success, and that you're working together, and then just driving not only success plans from a customer relationship perspective, but a technical perspective. And as long as you're kind of continuing on that path, I think that you're really proving the value out. And also, there are monetization opportunities within support. Marlene said there's, many other roles now, like technical account managers and, solution architects and things of that nature, that also continue to drive that value. So.
Fantastic. Jason?
First off, hang on one second. Thank you. You guys are doing exactly what we're trying to do. Support is not a cost center, it's a retention center. We are the reason people stay. And forgive me if I curse, because I curse on occasion. But you can have the shittiest product in the world and the best support organization in the world, and nobody's ever going to leave. Conversely, you can have the best product in the world and the I'll call it subpar, I won't curse, a subpar support organization, and you have almost no retention. Support is not, I wanted a mic drop when you said that earlier, but I actually wanted to walk out because I didn't know what I was going to say. But the reality of it is support is not a cost center. It is the revenue retention and the revenue generation model for any company that is smart enough at the executive leadership team level to actually listen to what these four panelists, or five, and support logic is in general what we're telling you. We know this because we live it every single day. It's really hard sometimes to get the executive leadership team to not look at us as a cost center, because that's what they think we are. But the reality of it is, without us, do they have a business? They don't. We all know that. We know that because we're here. We live in this moment. At all times, we live in this moment. And then the only other thing that I wanted to say, and I'm going to pile on to what you said a minute ago, or everybody said a minute ago, is we at my company, and by design, I got really lucky 25 years ago that I found somebody found me doing something right. They didn't find me doing something wrong. They found me doing something right. And because of that, I got a promotion. And my career has taken off since then. I am on a complete and total mission to make sure that everybody in my team has that opportunity to show that they did something right. So we've built career paths, we've built skills matrices, and I do a monthly AMA, and I have 5 top objectives, but the one that I talk about the most is development. Nobody knows the product or the customer better than your support team. Nobody. Why would you want to go hire anybody else from anywhere else? You can't hire a CSM that knows the product or the customer better. You can't hire a dev person that knows the product better than our support guys. And with that, I could talk about this all day, but I should probably just shut up.
It's actually a perfect segue, Jason, and we'd love to have you talk about your organization and your coaching and development techniques at SX Live in June. Let's follow up on that. Sure. But we talked about the economy and the challenges and the opportunities. One topic, to Jenna's point, around great collaboration with customer success. We've been hearing a lot about customer success for the past decade. It's been a new category with the advent of SaaS. We've heard a lot about CX in the last 20 years or so. Can you hear me now? There we go. So bringing it back to how support experience can help collaborate with and drive success in these other functions and really across the company, I want to know, what does support experience mean to you? And we'll start with Jenna.
Gosh, I mean, it could be cast the net pretty wide there. I think what support experience means for me is, everything from, that first point of the customer's journey all the way through to, renewals and through, just it's really the customer journey fundamentally, right? And just understanding every single point along the way, everything that's creating friction and solving for that, and everything that is that can be expanded upon, optimized. I mean, that's a holistic, iterative process that you need to continuously evaluate.
Great. Carlos?
So to me, the support experience is simple. I kind of take the customer's position on this one. To the customer, the support experience is literally everything that happens post-sales, right? So it is completely tied into your product experience. It's a reflection of the product experience. And so having that support experience be, it's very easy to treat the support experience as a transaction by transaction experience, but it really is a reflection of the entirety of your product, because especially if you're a SaaS company, the customer experience, the support experience is the product.
Marlene?
Well, my team would know I really like quotes and memes, although at Salesforce with my executive presentations, I have to up-level them. But in startup land, I did like executive presentations with a whole Star Wars theme. I did a Hamilton theme. My favorite quote that would represent what we're trying to achieve in our organizations is the right people doing the right things, comma, right. And that sounds really easy, and it's really difficult as leaders, from the hiring and the retention to the right processes, the right programs, and then the operational excellence, which is, the key. You can have all, if you can't have just one of those, you can't have just two, you gotta have all three. So you put those together, it's magic. You falter, it's not good.
I love that. There we go. Jason, do you have anything to add?
Well, I wasn't going to say much about Star Wars, but I am a Star Wars geek. So now I'm going to have to go back to my team and say, do or do not, there is no try. Let's start with that. But the reality of it is, if you don't own both, which even if you own both, there can be a complete and total bash of heads when you're talking client success and support. Support can't be success. Sorry, let me say that a different way. Client success cannot be successful without support. They're not going to get the renewals. It's just not happening. And then guess who's going to get the blame? Well, I didn't get the renewal because support sucked. Right? I mean, how many people here have heard that? I have, many times. And so where my personal experience, and I've been in both, I've owned it all, I've owned part of it, I've been combative with the client success team. And what I learned from my last job, and two of these guys back here will tell you, it was very combative between client success and customer support. The main thing that I wanted to do in this job was, the very first person I called was my peer in client success. And I said, what can I do? How can I get you renewals? What can we do? I think I have a plan, because I'm a really smart guy. I'm not really a smart guy. I got really smart guys that work for me. I'm just smart enough to hire them. But if you can find that way to collaboratively approach with client success, because that's all they're going to talk about. And guess what CEOs care about? They care about revenue. They don't care about costs. They care about revenue. So if you guys can figure out a way to collaborate with your client success folks and say, what can we do? And then find creative ways to say yes, because they're going to give you some really outlandish ideas on what support should do. And then you find a collaborative way to figure out what the end game. Just listen to what they say and then find the end game in your own way, and the own way that you can actually deliver. You're going to win. We went from 80% retention rate to 108% retention rate in 6 months.
That's fantastic. We're going to come back to how do you align others in the org and make the business case to invest in this. I want to turn it over to a fun topic, which is around generative AI and ChatGPT. This is top of mind for everyone these days, and you can't really see anyone in the tech industry not talking about it. So I'm curious to know, there's a big opportunity in support, and want to hear what you guys are doing in the area. Marlene, do you want to start?
Sure. So I first heard about ChatGPT. Well, I get my news from two places, New York Times and LinkedIn. And so I saw it on LinkedIn. I said, oh, it's another hype thing. So I didn't really look at it. And then a week later, one of my peer VPs in customer success posted on LinkedIn that she started using it, and it was really interesting. And I trust her, so I was like, well, there must be something there. So I go to it all excited, like, oh, what is this? And then, of course, it says, sorry, the server is busy again. So I text her, I was like, how do you get into this thing? Right? Because I tried again the next day. She's like, oh, just go like the back door through the playground, and then you can get in. I'm like, okay, so I did that. And I think we've all seen the different variations of cool technology. It's made your life easier. I think it was like 7 or 8 years ago when I first was introduced to Slack, and all of a sudden I was like, wow, this is so much easier. Than it really changed the way that we were working. And then even things that seem a little simple, but the autocomplete in Gmail, like that's exactly what I wanted to say, but just like cleaner and faster, right? And doing writing things and speaking presentations, like I'm always like taking a word and putting it into like synonyms, right, in Google. And I'm like, how many, right? Like doing all these things to help how I can represent out. And so when I started playing with the chat, I was like, wow, this thing is cool. And I mean, I haven't even gotten into all of the other use cases, but just from the language part, and you think about how much time we spend and we talk about to people on the soft skills part and the empathy and how to relate to customers and stuff. So and I know also just going back to history of support and people's fear of robots and all that stuff, like, yes, that's legitimate concerns that people should have that, oh, my job's gonna be eliminated. But for me, also seeing myself always as a technologist, like we can't be afraid of technology. It is our responsibility to make sure that it's developed, again, with inclusive principles and it's deployed in positive ways. And so that's all on us as leaders. And the more of us that are at those tables where those decisions are happening is the best way we're gonna get the best outcomes for the software. And like, even now, if you think about some support conversations that your team members had, if they had the chat making it nicer and doing things, it would just make their job better. And they could even, you could learn how to then even speak like that verbally if that suits you in that kind of way. So super excited to see that being incorporated in different products that are out there.
Carlos? And feel free to talk about concerns and challenges too, right? They're both sides of it.
Absolutely. So my first experience with ChatGPT is I was actually having a one-on-one with my chief customer experience officer, and he was very passionate about ChatGPT. And our one-on-one turned into a ChatGPT demonstration session. So when I first saw it, I kind of approached it from a support lens. I thought, ooh, our chatbots can get really, really good. But as I talked to more people, especially our marketing team, which was really, really leaning forward, I started to see a lot of really, really interesting scenarios. So for example, one of the things that we started doing with the product is for our tech touch engagements, both on the support and the CS side, is we started using it to create draft content, which saves a lot of time, especially if you were a very lean team in this environment. Now, you do have to use it as a draft tool. I don't recommend just creating the content and sending it. I think it does require, until the technology matures, a certain amount of intervention, but it saves you a tremendous amount of time. Don't waste your time just creating content from scratch. You can tell it what format you want it to put your communications in, what techniques you want it to use, and it creates really, really good drafts. So think about that for your digital support engagements.
Thanks, Carlos. Jason or Jenna? Go ahead, Jen.
Sure, yeah. Similar story. We've come across it, of course, in similar ways. Seen the energy and the hype around it, and played with ChatGPT, and it was really interesting. I actually built a vision statement for my chief customer officer, and it looked very much like who we were as an organization with just a few words. And I told him, I said, that was ChatGPT, and we need to start thinking about this, what this looks like a year from now, 3 years from now, how this will align with our product. We started to also play with it from just, the customer lens of, asking questions about our product. And, FinancialForce is ERP and professional services automation. And I mean, it gave our product marketing team a run for the money. I mean, it spit out features and functionality that was literally our product, and it was incredible to see. And all I could think about is, how can we leverage this within our organization, it kind of drive people to do the higher value tasks, right? When you hire support analysts, you want them to be analyzing the product and the problems. And the leading with empathy thing, driving that soft skill, is a really tricky thing. When you're, you want everybody bundled into one package. We want you to be brilliant at troubleshooting, and also brilliant at communicating. And sometimes those things don't come together in the way that we want them to. So for me, I think it's a really exciting opportunity to you take that pressure off some of those frontline teams to say exactly the right thing. And granted, yes, you absolutely have to have some human element, because I think part of the question too is just the ethics around it and the trustworthiness of it. We're not there yet, but I think it's super promising. Yeah.
Who all here actually works in support? Most of you. Everybody in this room that just raised their hand knows the trick. You call a toll-free number and you do this. Representative! Right? You don't want to go through the hassle. You don't want to go through the hassle. I do it every single time, and I run support organizations for a living. I do not want to go through that BS. It drives me insane. And forgive me for yelling. At least I didn't do it on the microphone. The one thing I'll tell you about chat and everything that Support Logic's talking about is you missed me by like 4 months. Because I've been brute force fixing this crap for almost a year. If I'd have known about you before I got here, we'd already be a customer, and we're gonna be a customer. So let's just be clear about that. I wouldn't be here probably if I wasn't gonna be a customer at some point. I'm quite certain Casey and these guys, they're holding me accountable. We will be a customer, but all joking aside, our biggest CSAT problems do not come from phone calls. Our biggest CSAT problems do not come from direct messaging. Our biggest CSAT problems come from email. Right? I see a whole bunch of people going, yep, I kept up with them, but you went back and forth 75,000 different times, right? And even though you're keeping up with it and the case looks like it's very pretty, the customer's not satisfied. So when we're talking about the ability to use this particular product, and it's sometimes more highly functional than most of us in this room, then why would we not want to do that, right? We have to stop brute force fixing things because that's what is way outpacing us, and we are dinosaurs at this point compared to technology.
One follow-up just on the generative AI and ChatGPT side of things. There's a lot of focus on it right now. We see tremendous opportunity to bring it in large language models into the ability to service a customer. For example, in the support engineer workflows that Marlene was talking about, to recommend language, to point to empathy. And we're investigating those opportunities right now with Support Logic. The other side that you're hearing a lot about, and as a marketer, we're taking advantage of this today, the ability to put pointers out there and, hey, write me an article, which it will do very quickly. So you can imagine in the self-service world with KCS and wanting to drive customers to a knowledge base article, there is a huge opportunity to save time and improve productivity. The other side of that is that there's some concern, and we hear this, that customers may be confused if the answer is not accurate. So that is one of the things that we're focused on, we believe it's going to, in the near term, drive an increase in assisted support inquiries. Because if a customer is not getting that right answer, then we as humans need to be there to help. So I want to come back to the theme here is about unlocking the value of support, especially with regards to customer insight and recommendations and actions that can be driven across the company. So I want to go back a little bit back to the collaboration point and ask the panel directly, where do you see the application of AI in general technologies like Support Logic and Support Experience Platform to help improve upstream functions like product, like engineering, sales, customer support. All right, squeaky wheel over here. All right, but then you have to trade off on time a little bit.
I will, I promise.
All right, there
the
you go.
best case that you get is the case you never had to get because it was working, or it got deflected. So that's why I got really kind of like, I want to talk about this one. I would love for the product for it to work so well that they drive me out of business. I have had this joke with my development team. I couldn't even tell you how many times. Y'all keep me in business, bro. Keep putting out bugs. Great. But back to your point, and then I'll tone it down. If I had a product that could do exactly what you're describing, which I know it can do that, and I'm gonna be a customer, and I didn't have to write my own knowledge base articles, and if I didn't have to brute force fix these things, then I would actually be okay if I lost my job.
All right. Mike, that is a little Mike.
Yeah, awesome. So we started tracking our escalations. We created an escalation object in our Salesforce environment, and we have the entry criteria and the exit criteria. We started examining those things, and we kind of talked about this earlier, but a big portion of escalations are completely preventable, right? They're communication mishaps, they're situations, the engagement. And so we really, really wanted to get in front of that. Now that was a huge part of our investment in Support Logic because we definitely wanted to turn from a reactive shop to a proactive shop. And that gives us the ability to zone in and go, hey, Johnny, your case here is going off the rails. We're going to help you out. And maybe it's a coaching opportunity, but it's definitely an opportunity for us to fix something before it becomes an escalation. So for that, it's huge.
Great.
So I think that at Salesforce, we've been working with Support Logic like two-ish years, and at the size of our organization, like 4,500 support people last year, 1.2 million cases. We don't just buy something and give it to everybody. So we started with different teams, got buy-in, ran pilots, ran betas, worked really, really closely with the product team and everybody at Support Logic, and super happy we're rolling it out to all of the products across the clouds. And I think for me also seeing and having a team of the size that I do, that kind of manual thinking that support managers and everyone can watch cues and you can in your brain process everything that's going on with the customer, and even if there's a cute little field that's, oh look, it's a red customer, I mean, like, what are you supposed to do differently with that, right? So taking that a bit back to the robots, but the logic that comes with Support Logic, right? To show you what you should be doing now, or like with Gmail, the priority inbox. Like, I don't even look at the non-priority stuff because the algorithms decided, this is what I should be looking at. And so I think that that's a really cool use of technology that is making us better. And then all those insights too that will come from actually getting to the heart of what the customers have feedback on, which is usually the product and stuff, and then being able to level that up and not have the noise about support slowness, support this, support that. We really can focus on the customer and what they need and build better products for them.
Yeah, one of those functions that Marlene's referencing is the ability to sort backlog and focus on the cases that you can truly impact, improve the customer experience, and drive to a resolution faster, impacting CSAT, ultimately retention, and preventing, in many cases, the escalations that go there. Carlos, we'll finish with you.
So support is just such a treasure trove of data and customer insights. For almost everybody here, support is usually the most frequent interaction that your customers have with your company. So being able to tap into that valuable resource needs to be a part of your strategy across all of customer success. And it's not just about understanding escalations or problems that the customer is having. It's understanding how your customers are using your products too. You know, one of the recent things that we did at BMC was particularly on our on-prem portfolio, where we don't have telemetry like we do on the SaaS side, is tapping into that support data as a resource and understanding based on what customers are calling us about and talking to us about, what features they're using, how they're using those features. Are those things that product management was aware of? Are those new things? So back to I think what Jason touched on, it's more than just risk mitigation engine. It does impact top line revenue, and it does support that valuable product feedback loop.
Great, thank you. We're going to have one more question, then I want to open it up to you all, who I'm sure have some questions. So we talked about the economic challenges we're all facing now, and we have an important partner in finance, in operations, and I think we can all safely say the bar has been raised in terms of having to show a business case and value. And we're not just talking about investing in software like SupportLogic, but more broadly, investing in the support experience, investing in your biggest asset, your people. So we'd love to hear about some of the challenges and also what you're doing to successfully overcome that and work with finance to make that case to invest in support experience. Jenna, do you want to start?
She handed it to me. I told her to start, but she. So it's the same as what I talked about earlier, which is when you're heavily invested with the CSM team, the product team, the executive leadership team, and that's really where it starts, is the executive leadership team. If you can prove to the executive leadership team that you're not a cost center, but the reality of it is you're the reason that customers stay, because they're not going to stay. I already said the whole product support product thing. I won't get back into that again. When you get your executive leadership team to actually realize that, which is a really hard task sometimes, because finance is in their ear. Finance is like, they cost us $1 million a year. Yeah, but they also save us $100 million a year. So go pound sand, right? That's the message that if I could give you any message that you can go live by with your executive leadership team, if you can convince them that you're not a cost center, that you're actually the reason the customers stay, and going back to the other,
it with data.
And show it. I was just about to get there, and show it with data, because now you're showing value, and you're showing with data. Here's all the reasons that we get so many support cases. So if you'll go fix the product, I won't get as many support cases, and I'll cost you less. And then, oh, by the way, you're going to get more customers, so I'm going to continue costing you the same, but you're going to get more revenue, and I'm going to get the same amount of cases. So that's really where my brain goes, which is just convince your executive leadership team with data that you're not a cost center. You're the reason the customers stay. Finance can't say a dang thing.
So I'm going to take a slightly different view on this, just from the perspective of the customer, because we're all in an economic, this is through their lens, right? What are they, what is their impact, and how can you best, drive forward, a value prop for your customers and their, So I think it's really about understanding, looking around the corner. For us, at FinancialForce, understanding this was, 12 months ago that this was coming. And so we understood that. We got in front of it with our customers. They understood the value of our products. And so that when the conversations came down to, license reduction or those types of conversations, we were prepared. And we had we also had data that showed them what they were, what the value was for them for our products. So I just wanted to kind of also take that position. It's a slightly, different one, but we work hand in hand with, our product teams, our engineering teams, our sales organizations, and all of that. And so, for support, where you're typically not engaged in those teams, we very much are at FinancialForce. It's very much a unified front.
Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome. Let's go.
So I think out of everybody here, I'm the only operations person, so I'm going to be a little bit more sympathetic to finance. But if it makes you feel better, I've been on the delivery side for both support and success management, so I'm sympathetic to all sides. So what I'll say is embrace your finance partners, educate your finance partner, help them understand, the equation for support. Talk to them in a language that they understand. Talk to them about case volumes times resolution times minus deflection rates, right? Help put it in their language and tie that to dollars and cents. We went through that journey with our finance team this year. They came to us early in our planning cycle talking to us about puts and takes between customer success management and support. And we spent quite a bit of time. We invested that up front, helping them understand what the real cost drivers of the business, building a model with them, so that at the end of the day, once we educated them on the process, it wasn't us advocating for these things. Our finance team was in the boat with us, and they were a partner with us, and they could look at growth projections from our chief product officer and translate that into what we could expect in support growth and case volume growth. So what I would say is reach across the aisle, embrace your finance partner, help them help you.
Thank you, Carlos.
On the model, kind of 3 metrics if you don't have that you could look into. And the good thing too, if you have a support team, you probably have people that are good with data, so you can make them up. So the 3 that we have, productivity, throughput, and utilization. So utilization, you typically think of professional services, but we have very consistent across the entire, also now again, every product support team can have a different product that came from a different place, but the utilization is consistent throughout. So it's 70% for engineers that work on our standard and premier success plans, and it's lower, 50% for our designated support engineers that do our highest plan, which is signature. So that gives them the ability to have the faster SLA, spend more time with the customer, spend more time doing specialized training, et cetera. So we do that. The difference between productivity and throughput, you can kind of think of a high schooler, so it's a weighted GPA versus unweighted. So productivity, you get some bumps for taking other activities that support engineers might do. And the throughput, though, is the actual averages that you have that the team is closing, historically looking back. So we look at all these every week in a weekly business review, and then that kind of feeds the forecasting out model that gets redone every quarter by finance and stuff, and we can make kind of adjustments in that way. So cool models, and they will help you.
That's great advice. Thanks, Marlene. I want to open it up and see what questions you all have. Do we have a mic to roam, or just can raise hand, speak loudly? Yep.
I have a question regarding, you'll deal with cost center, maybe similar one, or maybe less impacted to the business too. So like my company went through a break from January, and I actually lost 2 resources because they're like, well, your average resolution times are so good that the impact is just gonna be 1 extra hour, it should be fine. So it's easy for them to have to make those decisions because they look at us like, oh, if you have a little bit more cases, it's fine. It'll take a little bit longer, it's fine. And they're not thinking of the long term, but it's like, how do I fight that back? And everybody has had that experience.
Anybody go ahead? Go ahead. I think we all have opinions on it because I think we've all been through it. So go ahead first.
Sure. So one of the things that we talk to our finance team about is we help them understand that there are levers that you can pull in support, but when you pull one lever, another one goes up. So yes, you can pull that cost lever down, but that's probably going to make your TTR or your CSAT lever move in a different direction. So helping them understand those relationships, and that it's not, it's not a pair of Levi's. You can't just squeeze more case volume in and expect things to stay the same. That's how we approached it.
Yeah, I think you do also have to look at globally options for staffing. So we all know in support there are lower cost areas of the world, and then there are average cost areas, and then there are very expensive areas. And the reality is you can't build support organizations, or frankly any global company at this point, in the super expensive areas. Like I was telling Jen, I left the Bay Area to move to Austin because I couldn't afford a house for my 4 children to each have a room. And so those are the kind of decisions as you build teams globally you do have to look at, and you do have to weigh the options. Like there isn't a perfect model for that, and where you want to be in country. So we support 14 different languages, and we have natural language speakers. So you have to be in country to some extent, but you can build cost efficiencies into lower cost markets and keep the scale and make that's decisions moving forward.
So we just went through a RIF in January also. And it really sucked. The reason that it sucked for my support team more than anybody else in the company, in my opinion, this is my opinion and my opinion only, is because the 2 guys sitting in the back of the room had already been managing out the low performers. So when we did the RIF, we actually had to get rid of people who were actually doing their job. Most organizations, product, I'm never going to say support doesn't do this, but product, management, marketing, sales, forgive me if I'm offending anybody here, they have somebody at the end of the year that you're going to do the end of the year review with that are not meeting expectations. So those are the easy guys to pick off the list. But when you do what we do, it sucks. And we had to do it, and we're kind of accountable for it, and we're in a I told you so moment right now. I told you so. So as long and what I did was I actually told my boss, look, I don't have anybody that's a 1 or a 2 on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being the best. I don't have that. I can cut these costs because it's a cost. However, here's the impact. Here's the potential impact. And now I'm in a I told you so moment. So that's all you can really do, because the finance people, they don't, forgive me, the executives and the finance people don't always think that everybody runs their organizations the way we run them.
I would definitely echo having a solid utilization and capacity model. And if those decisions are made, you're in the position to show down the road that, this will impact TTR, CSAT, these other, it is an equilibrium. I love the lever thing, by the way, because I think it's so true for support. It's really about preparing and understanding what that capacity model looks like. And also, it's about growth for your company and understanding what's coming at you and trying to kind of create, an opportunity for what's coming in, the growth of the business, right? So being prepared for that is key as well. And then selling that as your position on why your team needs to at least stay flat in these times versus, growing, and then how you can scale with that team. Yeah.
Yep. Great. Thank you. Other questions? Yeah.
You guys talked about earlier the importance of the empathetic touch towards a customer, but how do you do that internally so that way your group is not looked at as a yes person, and then balance that aspect of managing expectations, because you know the product, you know what it can do, you know what it can't do. always oversell, underpromise, or like overpromise, underdeliver, like all of that. How do you, especially when you're being looked at as a cost center, manage that?
I should go. So I think, well, one of the things I do like about enterprise software versus B2C, I mean, you have business users and they've purchased whatever they purchased. And I think there obviously is a degree that they're oversold, of course, but they also kind of know that. It's like the best salespeople, you know they're selling to and you can't resist. So they have it. But really, for us, like, when we see what people are trying to do and when you can connect it to a bigger picture. So, even in our case routing, right, instead of being completely randomized, if you can assign similar customers' cases to the same engineer, it's not this all over the place, to 5 different people. And then, so they're going to be like, wow, okay. And then even we do a lot of, by the time it gets to be a support case, like there's something there because they've also gone through our very extensive self-service digital options and all the they've done all that, and so now they're like, oh, okay. So they come with a lot, and so there's often like a web call, and in that you can go through multiple issues, and then that takes away this like, oh, I'm going to have to schedule 5 different meetings on 5 different cases with 5 different people that could also be in 5 different teams with the managers, like all of that. It's just kind of together. So it's not an engagement, but it's definitely a more combined experience. And then, trying to figure out what they're doing. We always ask for business impact. Now, I do think that kind of term, I probably should put that into ChatGPT. Maybe you can ask that better because it's kind of weird too, because you're like, how many users are affected? The person is usually an admin. Like, they don't even understand maybe the gravity of how many potential people are going to be affected by something they're trying to implement in a sandbox. So I think there's opportunities to make that more useful language. But again, dates of when they need stuff, that helps with prioritization. All those things can be put into the system and then have the experience with hopefully 1 or less people. And yeah, anything to get away from email as we continue to move on. We do have Slack direct channels sometimes with customers, and there's lots of different, as we emerge with, everyone loves chat. Our chat CSAT is higher than, regular CSAT. So those types of synchronous and also I call like semi-synchronous WhatsApp or texting. These are all ways that we've all also shift our own personal communications. And so I think customers appreciate that type of thing to get the urgency communicated and then a resolution.
Yeah, so I have a privilege, I think it's a privilege, of doing B2B and B2C. So like, if you go ask any one of these hospitality staff back there if they've ever heard of hot schedules, they're probably gonna know who we are, and I probably should not even be speaking, and I should probably run out of this room right now. Because we get, on the B2B side, we get exactly what, excuse me, we get exactly what you're talking about, where it's an admin or it's a whoever, and we know who it is. And with those particular people, when it's B2B, we can make them understand the product doesn't do this, or it does do this, or, oh my gosh, we screwed up. We're gonna go work this out with you. Terribly sorry, you're the paying customer. On the B2C side, though, I get F you effing effer. Your product doesn't effing work. I can't log in, effing effer. I don't know if AI chat's ever going to help me fix that one, but we get all of it, right? So I don't know exactly how to answer the B2C side, because it's literally just somebody who's completely frustrated because they can't use our product. On the B2B side, I can have an intelligent conversation.
I want to add one point here, and I promise not to do a pitch, but I'll make a short pitch for Support Logic. One of the challenges with getting better empathy is to coach and do it at the right point in time with the right context and with the right support engineer or agent. And so Support Logic will scan all the cases and apply it against a rubric that you define, and then provide that right moment and the recommended coaching points to a manager so they can go right to their support engineer right in time and apply those. Well, you can screen out. You can screen out language. Anyway, so we'd love to show that to you. I think we have time for one more question, and we'll give it to you, and then we'll all be around afterwards to continue the conversation.
It's valuable for everybody, but it goes along with what you were saying about putting your cases into a subject matter expert. But when you have a small team, especially with this economy, how do you do that with knowledge transfer, not make a single point of failure? When you're working across your team, that's a challenge I'm having right now. It's fast, it's much more efficient. You get those into the customer faster. They have that single person. They know that as a customer well, they know this product well, they know this people well. But if that person's out sick or whatever reason, how do you balance that knowledge transfer while still getting efficient? Yeah, and that kind of resolution.
Jenna?
So I think this is a big play for KCS, right? So having a strong knowledge-centered services part of your support organization is key. I mean, we struggled with this a couple of years ago, and we really doubled down on it. Like we were like, all right, we're going to set specific targets and make it part of our MBOs. And so as everyone across the team, whether it's a support analyst or even our most senior solution architects, if you encountered something and it needs to be in our database of knowledge, you need to write the article. You need to get it out there. And that is how you build upon the knowledge from there.
That's a mic drop moment right there. Just drop the damn mic.
We had it was a couple of years ago, but a similar situation. And I mean, obviously we have weekend support, and not just on call, but we had people in seat by choice, like choosing that shift. And one gentleman decided to get off of that shift. And all of a sudden there was this peppering up from all the managers being like, weekend support is broken. This one guy is not going to do it. And we're like, wait, how can it be one guy be all of weekend support? Like, there's over 3,000 case taking people, right? But it really made us have to step back in leadership and be like, it was someone being like kind of the unicorn. And so what we did is take the time, revamped the whole weekend thing, and then relaunched it with a whole, like an even bigger group of people to have to accommodate for the skills part. So yeah, sometimes it does take those moments of somebody being out, but you can learn from that, and then you continue to plan for that.
Great. Any other thoughts, or should we wrap?
No, I agree with Jenna. I think KCS is the answer there. So I think nothing to add. I agree.
All right. I want to thank our panelists, Jenna, Jason, Carlos, Marlene. Great conversation. Really appreciate the insight. Hopefully you all found it valuable. And we will be around afterwards. We have some time left. There's still some food. There's the bar. So stick around. We'd love to talk more with you. And thank you, everyone, for joining us.
Yeah.